And he's Rich Cimini, and he joins us here on the Michael Kay Show. Rich, it's Don LaGreca and one of your former colleagues, Om Youngmasuk, who is now given up on football and is now a basketball guy. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, Om used to be a print guy. He's selling out now. He's just going to the airwaves. So, Om's a sellout.
Rich, my face wasn't good enough for print, so now I have to come to radio. That's the deal.
Yeah, that's hardly the case. So good to be with you guys on another interesting day in Jets camp.
Yeah, for sure. And you look at that corner position, McDougal looked like someone that was going to get a fair shot, done for the year. Demitri Patterson's going to have to play better than he did in that first preseason game. But outside of what we saw in that game against Indianapolis, how has he done overall when you've watched him?
Not well, mediocre. He's been nagged by some injuries in camp, and he's got 3 different injuries now. I think it's a calf, a quad, an ankle. He pretty much check off everything in the anatomy, I think, for Demitri Patterson right now, and I think that contributed to his shaky performance against the Colts. But that's the issue with Demitri Patterson. I mean, the guy's been injury-prone the last 3 years. I think he's missed 33 out of the last 48 games due to injury, and so that's the question with him. When he's healthy, he's not a bad player, but he's just never healthy.
Rich, if some of these other young guys like Kyle Wilson, Razai Dowling, they don't perform up to the potential that they had because they're high picks, do you think the Jets go out and see what's available out there, and what exactly is available out there right now?
Not much. I think they're going to work out a couple of guys today, but I don't think it's been any name corners. The news really here today was that they moved Antonio Allen to cornerback. We all know he's been a safety his first couple of years with the Jets, but they moved him to corner today. Actually had a couple of interceptions in practice, but they're kind of taking a leap there. I mean, he's not a corner. He's never played corner in his life. Really hasn't played a whole lot of safety in his life either. At South Carolina, he was really a linebacker. So this is just kind of an act of desperation, taking a shot there, seeing if they can catch lightning in a bottle.
Now, obviously, Idzig's in the crosshairs of the media and the fans for not going out and getting a veteran, and certainly he passed up on Darrelle Revis. But clearly, a lot of the decisions this organization has made is the long-term health, which is actually refreshing, right, Rich? I mean, you've covered this team where they're all in on one season. It's nice and refreshing to see somebody thinking about the future. The difference is you've got Rex hanging here who might have to take this team to the playoffs in order to save his job. And how fair would that turn out to be?
Not very, and I agree with you. I think for the most part, I think I like the approach he's taken, thinking long term, because you're right. So many times in the past, it's just been, they're just looking for Band-Aids and quick fixes and big splashes, and so I like the idea of taking the long-term approach. However, cornerback was clearly a weakness in the offseason especially after they cut Cromartie, and you have a coach whose entire defense is predicated on strong man-to-man coverage. And this was arguably one of the best cornerback classes in free agency in recent years. You had over $20 million in cap space, and the best corner you go out is you spend $3 million on Demitri Patterson, who spends more time in the trainer's room than he does on the field. So, to me, he dropped the ball in the offseason. I mean, that was the one spot where they needed, other than wide receivers, the one spot they needed to spend money, and they didn't.
And, Rich, looking ahead to the schedule here, Oakland, Green Bay, Chicago, Detroit, San Diego, Denver, New England, those first 7 games, and there's some crazy prolific passing attacks they're going to face with great receivers. How do you think the Jets are going to fare in those first 7 games?
Well, I mean, what they're saying is they're going to rely on their front 7 and try to get pressure on the quarterback. Rex Ryan even made a reference to the 85 Bears today, saying that was a team whose cornerbacks were really converted safeties, guys who played safety in college and became corners in that defense. But I think Rex was reaching a little bit there because the football has changed from the 85
Right.
Bears. This is a passing league now, and teams can offset good pass rushes. We saw it last year in certain games against the Jets, especially the Bengals game. Andy Dalton got rid of the ball in like 2 seconds. I mean, it was gone. 3 steps, and the ball was out, so the Jets never really had a chance to rush the passer. That's what those teams are going to do that you just mentioned, though, like the Lions and the Bears. The Patriots are just going to spread out the Jets and just throw it every down and force the corners to cover. And right now, I don't know if they can cover.
Talking to Rich Cimini, covers the Jets for ESPNNewYork.com. You were on the other side of the podium with a few of your other reporter friends there at Cortland. How did that go? In case you missed it, I guess he wanted to reverse the roles, Rex Ryan, and actually get a chance to ask you questions. So how did that all come about?
Yeah, well, he had mentioned something a couple of weeks ago that he was going to do that at some point. I just thought he was going to forget about it, and so I was as surprised as anyone when he picked me. But, it was Rex just having a little fun, just trying to break up the monotony of camp. I mean, we've been up here for the better part of 3 weeks right now. And so it was kind of fun. I learned that he's a lot more entertaining behind the podium than I am. So I think I'll stick to sitting with the group of reporters, and we'll let him handle the podium stuff.
What was the best question Rex asked, and what was the best answer given by the reporters?
What was the best question? Well, he just asked basic stuff. How did I get into sports writing? How do you maintain enthusiasm covering the dog days or training camp? And then he asked me what was the best sporting event I ever covered. And, I was going to say it was Syracuse winning the national championship in '03, but I figured I'd keep it to football. And just mentioned a couple of Jet things, but it was interesting. He just wanted to turn the tables a little bit, but it shows me that Rex is a regular guy, and he's willing to. How many coaches would want to sit with other reporters? So I respect him for that.
Rich, we just assume that if they miss the playoffs 4 straight years out of the postseason, that he would be out of a job. But is it possible that the long-term plan includes him, and that even if they do stumble, or even if they don't reach their ultimate goal, that he could still be a part of this team going forward?
I think that's possible. I think he's part of their long-term plan right now. He had a contract extension. It all depends on how the season goes. I mean, I don't think they're going to be beholden to a playoff or bust mentality because, what if they go 10-6 and they do, get nosed out of the playoffs? It's possible. It's happened to 10-6 teams, or if they go 9-7 and don't make it. That would be more wins than last year. So then if the arrow is pointing up at the end of the season, then I think he stays. If Geno Smith has a terrific year and the Jets just narrowly miss the playoffs, I don't think they're going to fire Rex. If they do, it would be a mistake. So it really is it's the complexion of the season and how things go aside from whether they make the playoffs or not.
Now, Rich, the best way to kind of make sure to protect your corners would be on offense to really control the ball and control the clock, and I'm sure that's what Rex wants to do this year. How has the running game looked so far with Chris Johnson and Chris Ivory? Is Chris Johnson going to be able to bust some long runs for them? And also, is Geno going to be able to make just a few passes here and there to move the chains? Because I think, obviously if they can go back to their ground and pound ways with Chris Johnson and Chris Ivory, they would be doing pretty well.
Yeah, that's a good point on Geno because I think, he's just going to have to be the game manager this year and keep the chains moving, and they'll rely on the running game again, and the whole thing is just ball security. I mean, 25 turnovers last year for Geno obviously is not going to cut it again. So if he could cut that down by 5 to 10 turnovers, it would make a world of difference. Their running game, it's really hard, as you know, just to tell about the running game in the preseason. You just don't know. I mean, I have not seen Chris Johnson break any long runs on the practice field. Now, is that a cause for alarm? It's early. I mean, he's a veteran guy. You assume, he's just trying to, build up his conditioning, getting lockstep with the offensive line. So there are other things going on here besides long runs. And I think they were 6th in rushing last year. I don't see any reason why they would be lower than that this year. I think they'll be better on the ground.
Rich, always a pleasure, man. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys, take it easy.
That's the latest on the Jets.